Hey guys, it's your girl T, and I hope everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving. I had a really good time spending time with my family and my kids. It was really good hearing from everybody on Instagram because I haven't been on Instagram in a while. So thank you guys for all like the really cool messages and stuff. So I want to come on here and I want to go ahead and shout out Jessica82786. She's one of the first ones to hit me up on Twitter. She wanted to know my opinion on this whole situation concerning Fidel Castro, Colin Kaepernick, and all the drama that's going on right now in Miami, Florida. Unless you've been living under a rock, honey. If you guys have not heard, the polarizing public official, aka the commander-in-chief of Cuba, Fidel Castro, died last night at the age of 90. He died at 10:29 p.m. And his brother Raul Castro, he came onto the news shortly after midnight to let everybody know that Fidel Castro had died. I want you guys to go ahead and watch this video really quick, and I'm going to come back with the rest of my commentary.
Querido pueblo de Cuba, con profundo dolor comparezco para informar a nuestro pueblo, a los amigos de nuestra América y del mundo, que hoy, 25 de noviembre del 2016, a las 10:29 horas de la noche, falleció el comandante en jefe de la Revolución Cubana, Fidel Castro Ruz. En cumplimiento de la voluntad expresa del compañero Fidel, sus restos serán cremados en las primeras horas de mañana, sábado 26. La comisión organizadora de los funerales brindará a nuestro pueblo una información detallada sobre la organización del homenaje póstumo que se le tributará al fundador de la Revolución Cubana.
Right, so you guys just saw what Mr. Raul had to say about his brother. So once it was announced, I was up yesterday too when the announcement came on television that he had died, and I was shocked because earlier that day was also announced that Florence Henderson, the mom from the Brady Bunch, she also passed away. So 2016 has been a crazy year for a lot of people. Like seriously, we've lost a lot of people in 2016. But with that being said, when I heard about Fidel Castro's death, I was like, wow, you know, that's crazy because this man was 90 years old. You know, a lot of people never make it to 90. So he definitely lived a long life, okay? But of course, with Fidel Castro's death, it's also prompted a lot of praise and a lot of rebuke. You have people down in Little Havana, down there in Miami, and they're like having celebrations and parades, and they're just so happy that Fidel Castro has died. Go ahead and check out these videos really quick.
So why is this so emotional for me tonight? I've cried and cried at the same time as we're celebrating the death of Fidel Castro. I'm very, very sad because of the fact that we waited 57 years for this man to die. We waited 57 years for the freedom of our island. Everyone has died, particularly I can speak about my family, my mother, my father, my aunts that were political prisoners. All the elderly people that have came here when we were children as myself, people that gave up their homeland, that have waited 57 years and they're all dead. Everyone has died waiting for this man to die. It's unbelievable that he survived all of them. Such an evil person. So I am happy, but at the same time it's bittersweet. I have no one to celebrate with Everyone in my family has died. All my close, elderly, all those how can I say, all those great Cubans that fought for freedom, people that were in the Bay of Pigs invasion, people that had relatives that were shot in the firing squad, people that spent 20, 25 years in prisons, suffering in prisons, waiting for this day, and they're all dead. Every one of them has died, and so we waited a long time for this. So, as I said, I'm very happy, but at the same time, I miss all of them, and this is a great day.
All right, so you guys just saw the videos of people celebrating, two-stepping, and having a good old funky time to the news of Fidel Castro's death. But in other places around the world, people are really sad, especially in Cuba. A lot of people, you know, they really liked Fidel Castro. When I hear the name Fidel Castro, it conjures up a lot of different emotions. It conjures up a lot of different things. And you can ask 100 people how they feel about Fidel Castro. You will have 100 different answers. Either people will look at him as a revolutionary leader, somebody who didn't take no shit. He wasn't going to kiss America's ass. He refused to let America use Cuba as their, you know, their paradise vacation spot. And he literally, you know, rectified everything. He brought in good health care, a lot of literacy. You know, people in Cuba have one of the highest literacy rates in the world. There's a lot of medical doctors down there in Cuba and everything else. So for a lot of things, he does get praises. But then for a lot of other things, people really hate him because he killed a lot of his own people who didn't agree with his policies, people who didn't agree with him in general were, you know, forced to flee Cuba or were killed by his death squad. So you have a lot of mixed emotions surrounding this man. To some in the Black community, he is a hero because he helped out in Angola when Nelson Mandela, when he got out of prison. He praised Fidel Castro because he said Fidel Castro helped to weaken apartheid. So Nelson Mandela was very good friends with him. On top of that, as we all know, he has harbored Assata Shakur for like the past, 20, 30 years. She's been living down in Cuba, and she's, you know, Tupac Shakur's aunt. And so, you know, a lot of people respect him for that as well. So now what's going down is this. People are mad right now at Colin Kaepernick. Well, some people, honey. But what happened is that basically there's a man who writes for the Miami Herald. His name is Armando Salguero. And him and Colin Kaepernick got into it yesterday because Colin Kaepernick, they were down there for the Miami Dolphins game. And he had on a t-shirt that had a picture of Malcolm X and Fidel Castro on it. So this man was very upset by the shirt that Colin Kaepernick wore. And he decided to confront him live on air. So I want you guys to see the exchange with Armando and Colin Kaepernick going back and forth. Check this out, and I'm going to come back with the rest of my commentary.
Colin, one of the times that you made that stance about fighting systematic oppression, you wore a Fidel Castro t-shirt after the game. Are you not aware that Fidel Castro is one of the 20th century's big oppressors of people?
I wore a Malcolm X shirt.
And Fidel Castro was on that shirt as well.
I am a believer in Malcolm X and his ideology and what he talked about, what he believed in as far as fighting oppression.
Are you a believer in Fidel Castro, who was on that shirt?
If you let me finish, please. The fact that he met with Fidel, to me, speaks to his open mind to being willing to hear different aspects of people's views and ultimately being able to create his own views as far as the best way to approach different situations, different cultures.
So it's good to have an open mind about Fidel Castro and his oppression.
I'm not talking about Fidel Castro and his oppression. I'm talking about Malcolm X and what he's done for people.
No, I realize you're not talking about it because it's uncomfortable.
One thing that Fidel Castro did do is they have the highest literacy rate because they invest more in their education system than they do in our prison system, which we do not do here, even though we're fully capable of doing that.
He also did something that we do not do here. He broke up families. He took over a country again without any, justice and without any elections.
We do break up families here. That's what mass incarceration is. That was the foundation of slavery, so our country has been based on that, as well as the genocide of Native Americans.
Are you equating the breaking up of Cuban families with people going to jail in the United States of America?
I'm equating the breaking up of families with breaking up of families.
Wow. It's amazing.
All right, so you guys just heard them going back and forth. And, Colin Kaepernick, he held his own. He stood his ground. And so a lot of people were feeling like, okay, well, why is this reporter taking this shit so personal? It's just a T-shirt. Castro did meet with Malcolm X. He has a right to wear this shirt if he wants to wear this shirt, which he definitely has a right to do that, in my personal opinion. But the reason why Armando took such an offense to this shirt is because Armando's family was split up by Fidel Castro. They're saying that him and his mother migrated from Cuba when he was a child in 1967. And he stated that his father was not able to accompany them because the armed Cuban soldier who was following them only allowed 2 people to get on the plane. He said he would not allow 3, so his father chose to stay behind in Cuba, and I don't know if he ever saw his father again. So I think that's why he took it so personal. That's why he was mad. He was talking about, Fidel Castro, split up families. But I liked how Colin Kaepernick came back and said, well, you know what? The U.S. has done the same thing. Did we forget there was a such thing as slavery, where people were, basically used to breed and have children, and then the children would be snatched away from the families and things like that. He didn't go into such detail. I'm just adding on to that. So it's just really interesting, people's opinions. I just been kind of checking out social media and seeing what folks had to say. I have a lot of tweets from a lot of the politicians and what they have to say. Donald Trump was kind of cold about it. He was like, Fidel Castro is dead, ! And that was about it. I'm going to go ahead and show you guys what a few other senators and people that we see in the political circle had to say about Fidel Castro's death. Go ahead and check this out, and I'm going to come back with the rest of my commentary. All right, so you guys just saw the comments and the tweets. So like I said, you can ask 100 people about their feelings towards Fidel Castro. You're going to have 100 different answers. To some, he was a great leader. He was a revolutionary. He was a legend. And to others, he was nothing more than a cold-blooded murderer. You know what I'm saying? I think the thing for me with all this back and forth that I see with people going online about the whole Fidel Castro thing, I love how people like to point out a lot of his faults. Did he have a lot of faults? Yes, he did during his self-imposed reign. But let's also not forget the atrocities that America has also done to different countries and to different people around the world. So many times, we here like to get on our high horse and point out the faults of other leaders and the faults of other countries. They did the same thing with Gaddafi in Libya. They did the same thing with Hugo Chavez in Venezuela. It's very easy for us to point out what's wrong with all these other people. But again, we have to be honest with ourselves. The American government has also made a lot of mistakes. You know what I'm saying? Let's not forget, this is the same country that decided to drop 2 atomic bombs on Japan. You know, yes, America feels really bad about that, and it's in the history books and everything else, and it was, you know, considered a dark time in American history. But, you know, we've also done a lot of shady things to people around the world. We've also involved ourselves in things that were none of our business. You know, we've caught ourselves trying to bring, you know, democracy to people who didn't necessarily want it. And now it's caused even more chaos and dissension in those countries. So I think before we sit and judge everything that Fidel Castro has done in his country, we need to first take a good look at our own country. You know, at the end of the day, do the people down there in Little Havana, do the Cuban Americans have the right to hate him and feel a certain type of way? Yes, they do. They have every right to feel that way, especially if their family members were affected by the reign of Fidel Castro. I can't get mad at them for that. But then, you know, do the people who look at him as a revolutionary, who look at the good things he did, do they have the right to praise him? Yes, they do. You know, so at the end of the day, people have the right to their opinions. All we can do is just respect that, you know, and I think that news reporter, he got so emotional because his family was affected personally by Fidel Castro's reign. But at the end of the day, he cannot tell Colin Kaepernick what he can wear and can't wear. You know what I'm saying? If Colin Kaepernick, you know, sees Fidel Castro as a hero, that's his business. And he really doesn't have to explain that to anybody. You know, so the whole situation was just really interesting to see their back and forth and just to see how people feel on social media about this particular topic. So anyways, y'all, let's go ahead and get the discussion popping. Go ahead and leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts on this entire situation. How did you guys feel when you heard about Fidel Castro dying? Do you look at him as a hero, as a revolutionary, as a great leader, as a legend? Or do you feel like he was nothing more than a murderer, you know, and he's made Cuba worse because people only making like $30 a month from what the, you know, media is saying? So there's a lot of things going on in Cuba that's both good and bad because, like I pointed out, they have some of the best healthcare in the world. They have one of the highest literacy rates in the world as well. So there's a lot of good things going on in Cuba as well. But then there's also a lot of bad things that you can point out as well. So anyways, y'all, let's go ahead and get the discussion popping. Go ahead and leave a comment. Let me know your opinions on this entire crazy situation that's concerning Fidel Castro passing away at age 90 the day after Thanksgiving. All right, deuces. Hey you guys, it's your girl T. Make sure to subscribe, like, and share my videos. You can also visit lovelyti.com to purchase any merchandise. Also, don't forget to click the boxes down below to watch any of my previous videos. Talk to y'all later. Deuces.